Hi, this is Tim Sanders, founder of the Omnia Radiation Balancer, and I'm honoured to have been a guest on the Journey to Truth show. Now, with phone radiation, most people think that because they can't feel anything, nothing is happening. But the reality is that this radiation is causing a lot of stress and damage in your body, and your brain doesn't register that it's happening. The likelihood is that you'll only find out about it when this continuous stress shows up in the body as disease. And this is backed up by well over 10,000 peer-reviewed studies showing that EMF causes serious diseases when they tested it on rats. The Omnia Radiation Balancer removes this stress. It's proven to balance the blood, it brings perfect crystalline structure to water, and our kinesiology muscle tests show that the body goes super strong when you stuck it on your phone. And it works with 5G. You just order enough patches to cover every radiating device in your home and you're done. It lasts forever. But to be clear, let's not get complacent. We must all stop 5G together. So big thanks and big love to Tyler and Aaron. Click on the link below and you can quickly and permanently bring balance back to your body. Thank you.
Hey, you're listening to the Journey to Truth podcast. Tonight we have on Ellen MacDougall, who is founder of Power Energetics, which is located out of Maui, Hawaii, which is where she's coming from right now. I love doing these things, halfway across the world, even though it's still part of the United States. It's so cool connecting with everybody. And energy, or Power Energetics, is energy healing. And we'll turn it over to you and let you kind of describe what that is and tell us how you developed this skill, and we'll go from there.
Well, aloha, Tyler, Aaron. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I am the founder of Power Energetics, and I developed a quantum wellness healing system that adjusts your body, mind, soul, and spirit. We balance your energy so that you experience peace and harmony, and this allows your true self to emerge from your symptoms, anything that's bothering you, and any blocks between you and your goals. It is a form of quantum healing, so it's beyond time and space, and it offers instant results. And I'm looking forward to disrupting the healthcare market and replacing at least treatment with kind of integrative functional medicine. That's where I feel like everything's going. I mean, even Dr. Oz said this is the biggest thing in the next decade. So I am excited to be kind of in the ground floor, the roots level of energy medicine. And I was fortunate enough to study with many great healing masters, including Don Juan from the Carlos Castaneda books and the Real Life Grasshopper from the Kung Fu series back in the 70s.
Wow.
Amongst many others. And I was really blessed because I had to figure it out for myself, because I tried everything Western and nothing worked for me. So I was set on a course to discover everything. I was really came from mainstream America. I definitely didn't look at anything alternative. I know when I first heard about anything like what I'm doing, I dismissed it as those guys must be con artists. So I wouldn't even hear it. Like it wasn't even, so I was heavily programmed, obviously, at the time. Sure. And it's been an interesting journey, really fascinating, really exciting. And I've really managed to cultivate a healing system that gets really good results. And I'm excited to share it with everybody.
Yeah, so I've already personally experienced this technique from your Facebook Live last Sunday. And let me tell you, it was amazing. And we can go into that in a minute. I also want to thank you for making it clear that you're trying to disrupt the healthcare industry, because now now you just got us censored.
We get censored all the time.
I'm kidding. No, but it's true. That is an issue. I mean, really, we do need to start things up right now with that, because
if you're not getting censored, you're not speaking enough truth.
You're not doing it right.
You're not doing something right.
No.
If you're not getting attacked and censored.
I agree with that. It's just a sign, you know, I said it on the last podcast, that just means we're winning because they're threatened. You know,
Exactly.
Yeah. I believe I heard that YouTube and Facebook both bought big pharmaceutical companies, so they've kind of started working alternative medicine out of the algorithms. And then also people that I know on YouTube, even with over 1 billion views, got their whole channel taken down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they're speaking some truth, and that threatens the norm. I find it really interesting that you can tell where the heart of all of this is, the opposition, we'll just call it at the moment. It's like they don't want people to be empowered. They don't want people to know the truth. They don't want people to be healthy. They don't want people to have a good life. They don't, you know, it's like, what kind of person is like that? Like, who thinks like that? Who, you know, other than people that are heavily programmed or conditioned or kind of under, as Laura would say, mind control. It's very interesting. And so I really came out of that mind control space where, you know, first I was awakened and I was raised without God. So I went from like no spirit world, completely third dimensional, into like, boom, all at once. What
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was ecstatic and on cloud 9 for, I would say, at least 8 months. I couldn't believe that life was so much more than I'd ever dreamed or believed it could be. It was fascinating.
That's so awesome to hear. I love hearing other people's stories of their own awakening, because there is so much more out there, so much more. And it, you know, for the longest time, if you are in that 3D program, like I used to be, like many of us, you just really don't think that there is anything else. And you don't even really know what you're doing. You're just going through the motions. Think, oh, we come here, we die, and that's it. But now when you start realizing the greater purpose, and that like we don't really die, and and it's just amazing. How did your awakening lead you to develop your healing, or diving into that understanding of there are other ways to heal?
Well, you know, you said you were just kind of walking around and you're just kind of barely there. I felt like, I call it my collecting data phase. It was like I was not connecting any dots. I was just going out having experiences. And back then I liked to have a really good time. So I was collecting really good time data.
Yeah.
There you go. That's amazing.
And, you know, I think through that process, I kind of, I was really into the Celestine prophecy. I was into Wayne Dyer, Gary Zukav. I was really I was open to that stuff. Like my dad, even though my mom was a Reformed Catholic, atheist and evolution and behaviorist, when they got divorced, I was in my 20s and he started going to Unity Church. And that seemed to like, that was the happiest time he was alive, really. And he was dating like a psychic before I even knew what that was, that was, or anything. And I don't really consider myself psychic. I consider myself empathic and kind of a channel for the Sacred Heart, and a divining rod, kind of that, you know, like I don't need to really do the test for kinesiology anymore. I can just feel it in my core. I went through an awakening, like that kind of a near-death experience that seemed to wake me up, which happened in right before my birthday in 1996. And I was driving up to the first Grateful Dead show after Jerry Garcia died. Nice. And I had all this jewelry I had made that I was going to sell. And I was meeting my friend in Oakland. And I'm from Detroit, so we know how to drive in Michigan.
Oh, nice.
And I was like coming around a corner, and it was like 5 a.m. I'm driving from San Diego to Oakland, California, like near San Francisco. And I came around this 90-degree bend, and it was raining. And these big boulders came crashing down the mountain into my car.
What?
And I lost complete control over the car. It was fishtailing all over the place because the wet roads, and it never rains in California, so when it does, it's really slick. And then I read the sign that says narrow bridge ahead, and I'm like, oh my God, I have no control over the car. I'm thinking, all of a sudden I hear somebody scream at me as if there was somebody in the car with me, and there wasn't. And they said, you know how to drive in the snow. And so when they said that, I just started driving backwards, and I got control of the car and pulled it over the side of the road. I had 2 flat tires on the passenger side. The rims were totally poised. So I was like, oh my God. First of all, oh my God, I just heard a voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did that come from? And it saved my life. Now I can look back and say, my grandfather, I think it was my grandfather, Frank, saving my life. And so somebody had seen my car out of control that was going the opposite direction, and turned around and came back to, he thought he was going to find me dead. And instead he found me trying to change my spare tire, even though I needed 2 spare tires. So he drove me to the tire shop. And I just had a series of miracles. It was like, I didn't have much money on me. I was, young and in college. And I'm like, I have $35 on me. And he was just like, I needed 2 tires and I needed 2 rims, basically.
Yeah.
So he pounded out the rims and he put on 2 used tires, and he drove me out to my car, and he put them on my car, and he's like, follow me back to the shop. And I did. And he goes, that'll be $35, please.
Wow.
Oh my God, that is a miracle. So I gave him the money, and I took off, and I only had a quarter tank of gas. So I called my friend, and I didn't get to talk to him because it was so early in the morning, but I left a message what was going on. And so he sent me some money. So I kept driving, and then all of a sudden I'm on like the 101 North, and I'm coming through this valley called King City. And I see a double rainbow, and I saw from the beginning to the end of the rainbow. And I thought, wow, I've never seen the beginning to the end. And I just pretended like I was a little ball of light, and I was like dancing all over the rainbow and hugging and kissing it and loving it, and just kind of blissing out with the rainbow, right? And I was like, wow, it just dinged. It was like a little light went on, and it said, earlier I let myself feel fear for the first time. I didn't push it away when I was almost dying on the road.
Yeah.
I just I allowed myself to feel it and let it go. And and it was the same with the beauty of that rainbow. I allowed myself to feel it, and I let it go. And I was like, wow, that's really trippy, And so we get to my friend's house in Oakland, and I took a shower, and then we went to the show. And we get to the show, and I'm walking around. Everybody's super sad because Jerry Garcia had just died, and it was the first time we were all together since that happened. This guy came up to me, and he's like, you are from Ocean Beach, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, here you go. And he gave me tickets to go inside the show for free. And I was like, oh my God,
right.
Another miracle.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so we went inside, we had a great time. And then the next day I woke up, and I was like in this nonstop deja vu. Like I knew what was going to happen before it even happened. And it was like constant. It didn't stop. And I was like, wow, I really feel safe for the first time ever. I know what's going to happen. I'm okay.
Yeah.
And it kind of went on from there. Like I just kept having these magical and mystical experiences. I was already praying a lot, and I was getting my prayers answered. So I felt very connected to spirit, and just like I got blessed somehow. I don't even know how it happened. I'm still wondering, like, what on earth just happened? And I tell that story because I feel like that vibration or that frequency of awakening is in that story, I had a lot of magical, mystical experiences prior to my awakening, but I just kind of dismissed them, like almost like disassociated from it, because it was like I didn't have the comprehension to process what it was that was happening or something like that. It was really kind of bizarre.
Yeah,
totally.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the same for me as well. You know, you write everything off as, oh, it was nothing, or you just almost block it out and move on and just go on. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about, I'm going to go there and ask you, what about ET experiences? Have you had any like extraterrestrial experiences or UFO sightings or anything like that?
Well, I think as a child, probably when I was like 10 or 12 years old, I saw like a formation of ships that were way beyond where the planes were at night, one night on the playground. I was just like, whoa, you know, and that was kind of like, did I just see that or not? You know? And in 1989, my boyfriend and I were visiting California, and we saw some ships. And, you know, and he was there with me, and he was confirming, yeah, we're seeing that. You know, I even did a painting about it long ago. And then in 92, 93, I think I told you guys about this, is I was living in Las Vegas with my high school sweetheart. We were about 28, 29 years old, and he was very, I think he might have been wide awake. But he was very fascinated with UFOs and Area 51. He had grown up part-time in Vegas, part-time in Dearborn, where I grew up. He was like, we should go out to Area 51. I hear you can just eat crabs taking off and landing all night on Tuesday nights. And this was the winter of 92, 93. He talked me into moving to Vegas to start a business, which it ended up breaking us up instead of bringing us together. And it was like stereotypical of what you would think a ship to be. And it was like the ones that I saw when I was a kid and in California had like lights that were almost like spinning in a circle, right? But these were like little silver flying saucers. And they even had like a full week-long expose on them the week before I left Vegas. And it was the newscaster that had been there 30 years with the best reputation. And so he dismissed it for me. It was like, well, you know, we think this is just reverse engineering and that it's really the government. And, you know, and if I tune in and muscle test that now, I don't think so. I don't think we have that yet. Maybe we're trying to have that, but I think we're just kind of accommodating beings from other places.
You were doing this every Tuesday night, you said?
Yeah, it was every Tuesday. So we probably went. He took me at least 4 times. I went out there.
So you would just go and park and you would see UFOs every Tuesday?
Yeah.
And
they were on the news. They were on the news like as close as I am to the camera. They had footage like that.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it was on 6 o'clock news by the top newscaster. Although I have to note that the prior newscasters to that man exposing Area 51, they all disappeared.
Was it George Knapp that broke the Bob Lazar story? And
I think I would know it if I saw his picture, but I wasn't registering things then. I wasn't putting dots together. Just reflecting back.
Well, I know Bob Lazar is the one that put Area 51 on the map as far as everyone knowing what it is, because he came out in 89 or 88, whenever
it was the 80s. I don't know the year.
It was the late 80s. He came out as a whistleblower saying, hey, I worked on alien spacecraft in Area 51, or S4, which is actually just south of Area 51. And
I don't think it was him. I think it was a newscaster.
Well, George Knapp is the newscaster that got his story out there. So I think that's weird.
Oh, okay.
It could have been, yeah. It definitely could have been. That's interesting, though. I think that's cool. And it seems like I've heard a story like that before about Area 51. And on a specific night, you can go and just see these ships coming and going. And
yeah, there were dozens.
Yeah.
Literally every time I went, taking off and landing.
That's great. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was weird. I think I did the disassociation checkout thing at that time. Like, what am I? I was still in denial. We'll just say that. I was still in denial.
So,
and that's okay. It's okay to be there.
I think a lot of people are like that. A lot of people have seen things that doesn't fit in with their paradigm and their belief system. So they just like try to explain it away in their head or block it out. And then years later, and I've actually talked to people who are like, yeah. And then years later, when I woke up, I realized I'd seen UFOs and I'd seen being,
100% agree with that. Yeah. I think that's happened to all of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, you just forget about it entirely. You don't even know that it happened until something triggers it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're supposed to remember.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah. Well, as the Grateful Dead used to say, well, they still say, all good things in all good time.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So let's get into power energetics a little bit. I just want you to kind of break down what the process is and how you go in and actually begin to heal somebody, and what actually takes place during that session.
Okay. I would say, to put it in its simplest form, I have people do a meditation that gets them out of their head, turns off their thinking, empties their mind, and turns on their feelings, and it drops their energy and their attention into their heart, and then deeper into their sacred heart. And once I get them there, then they can kind of give me a scale of, if 1 is the worst it could be and 10 it's the best it could be, where is it at on that scale? And it starts with a baseline. Once we get the baseline, then, and the presenting issue, whether it's, back pain or whatever it is, then I do a body scan, an energetic body scan that I could do on the phone or on the computer. It's again beyond time and space. So I scan their physical body, their mental body, emotional, psychological, spiritual, scan their relationships, their health, fitness, money, finance, age, occupation, astrology, and trivial things. And, the symptom can be localized or referred or point related, or, it's really the number one thing in energy medicine is it's never what you think it is. So
Sure.
the process of unwrapping it is, it's super fun and entertaining, and you pretty much laugh the whole entire time. It's kind of like hearing one nonstop cosmic joke about whatever it is that's going on. And people tend to laugh or cry or burp or fart or have to urgently go to the bathroom, or some sort of release, like physical release comes out of the body, or make a sound. Like I make a lot of sounds for people. And then the Sacred Heart has her own language too, which is really interesting. And she says it's the last language. I don't know what that means, but we'll see. Time will tell.
So basically,
And so
go ahead.
I do that that scan, and I'm using kinesiology, but my body just kind of reacts now. So all I have to do is kind of feel into what the other person is feeling. So I'm very precisely trained empath, so I can feel what you feel. And I just quickly, for 1 to 3 seconds, and then I identify it and then clear it and recycle that energy through the Sacred Heart. Then that person is able to heal themselves, because where they've been turned off, they're now turned on, and their body is able to reboot its biocomputer and just kind of heal itself. So it happens very quickly. And it can happen, and we have to clear out any memories, all the layers to it, and any triggers that might happen that might bring the issue back. And then a lot of people get emotionally attached to their pain, so we have to clear any emotional attachments around it. And it may come off in levels and layers, or something. Sometimes maybe somebody learned how to do it for themselves. And I can teach it to a 2-year-old, and it's super fun. It's like playing a game or something, but instead you're healing and loving and nurturing people. And I can visualize the world this way. I don't know.
Yeah, I can too. I fully believe that it's going that direction. I think that all of us are going to tap into this ability, and it's going to be, in the future, obviously, it's going to be that paradise that we all, dream of. I think one day we will get there.
The new Earth.
The new
Well,
Earth. Yeah.
It's here. It's here. We're just waiting to be at the frequency it is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I've heard that.
And the best way to do it is really getting rid of all these symptoms and bothers and reaching your goals, because that allows you to align with your true self, your purpose, your destiny. Then your true self emerges out of all that rubble and you can ascend, and your frequency just gets higher and higher. So you attract more and more of what's good in life, and that, promised land, heaven on earth, energy.
Yeah.
I like
Absolutely.
what you said about the pain having to deal with possibly like relationships or even just relationships. Like you could have a physical pain and not even realize that the energy of that pain stems from a toxic relationship in your life. And that's something that mainstream totally just misses, and therefore will never identify the root cause of.
Well, I think they do look at it in trauma, like PTSD.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, in mental health, they kind of look into it, but they don't really take a deep enough dive into the energetics of it. I think that is really key. Energy medicine is quantum, therefore it's beyond time and space, and it's thinking about health on a holistic level throughout everywhere you've ever been. At least your soul's been. You know what I mean? So I think nobody's really thought of health on that level yet. And it's about removing any memories you have from other lifetimes that because we all die somehow. So we carry that trauma forward in our cells, in our quantum particles. And so it's got to be cleared out of there in order for us to have a good life. Otherwise, basically the universe will figure out your weakness and just keep poking you there.
Yeah, it's so true. Wow, I agree with that wholeheartedly, because it's honestly they're poking you there, but it's a lesson we need to learn. I
know, but it's because it's been weak for lifetimes or generations. It could be your ancestors' weakness that you're carrying forward. You don't even know where it's coming from. That's the other thing. You can sympathize with somebody when you were 5 years old because they were in a wheelchair or something, and you connected to that person's issues and you don't even know, and you think it's yours, and you integrate that, and then you start to experience their stuff. It's really consciousness is really interesting.
And when I first heard the term ancestral healing, I had no idea what that meant when I was going through all my awakening and we're coming to all these realizations and learning everything. I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean I'm carrying, traumas from my past lives? It's such a hard concept to grasp when you're new to everything. And it just takes time to really come to that understanding. So it's a great conversation to have, because even people listening to this, I don't care how advanced you are or whatever, we need to be reminded. And this might be new information for people.
The more awake you become, the more interesting life gets.
Absolutely.
Very true. Yeah. Very true.
It's not a negative thing on any level, I don't believe.
No.
Although
it might seem like that because you wake up, you see things for what they are, and you might lose some friends, and which I have. Things might get a little rough, but it's worth it because you're finally living from your true self. On this surface level more so, and try to fit in with this 3D reality and get people. I need people to like me, and I need to fit in, and all this other stuff. And now I don't care at all about any of that. Screw all that stuff. I have amazing knowledge, and I know about energy. I know about all the beings, and it's not just extraterrestrials which exist, but there's dimensions, and there's it just keeps going up, and it's I just know this is not by far not all there is. This 3D reality is such a tiny minuscule in the grand spectrum of what exists, in the multiverse. And our soul is our true self, who we actually are, and this body is just a very temporary
vessel
that we're temporarily experiencing, and it's like you no longer fear death because you know that's not the end, and we go on to much more, and we've come from much more. It's kind of like you know, you go from viewing life like this to like, you know, like
with the blinders on.
Yeah. Like you're looking at this like tiny pinhole, and you think that's all there is, and then you fear death because you think once that's done, there's nothing, and you don't realize how constricted you've been living until you wake up, and like how much more, like you said before, how much more amazing life in reality is than you ever imagined.
I agree wholeheartedly. I wanted to add too, you know, I definitely had some ET experiences in Mount Shasta. I think I had one experience. I was gone for about 3 days. I don't even know what happened.
Really?
Yeah. And I had another experience. This was an interesting one. Was I was not awake, okay, but I was at a campground on Castle Lake in Mount Shasta. I went to bed early in my tent, and I woke up the next day, and the whole entire campground was like, oh my God, there was a ship here as big as the lake, and it was completely silent, and they were all watching it, and it just went into the lake. It went down.
Really?
Wow.
And so I was in town at the Shambhala crystal shop, and there's a psychic that owns that shop, and I was telling the story, and she goes, yeah, you weren't awake because they came for you.
Wow.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I was out cold again. I just have no memory of what.
And you have no memory of what happened at all?
No.
Have you ever tried to recover it? Have you ever tried to recover that memory by any like hypnosis or quantum healing? You know,
Regression.
Yeah.
Well, I've definitely worked on it on a quantum level for sure. And I want to add this too, is like, you know, when I studied with the real life grasshopper, he teaches something called, well, it was Yuan energetics back then, but now it's Yuan method. And he goes into, I mean, this causes a lot of people a lot of health issues, aliens. And whether they're real or imaginary, it doesn't even matter to me, but they're in another dimension. You know, it's kind of like cartoons are kind of the first dimension, you know. So he was studying with David Icke at the time that I was studying with him. You know, he's taught us how to clear all the things that they do to cause us health problems. And that is hysterical. The whole protocol is freaking hysterical.
Oh, yeah.
And, yes.
Why is that?
And I get to clear that kind of stuff every day on my clients. So it's everything from programs and devices and cyborgs, any kind of like artificial intelligence, cyborg stuff, mismatching emerging body parts, surgeries, botched surgeries, laser surgeries, abductions, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, if the person is weak to that and you don't even know, I'm just saying that everything on a quantum level is way beyond what you think is possible. So, yeah, I ended up studying with David Icke. I took a seminar when he was on Maui in 2012. It was like a 10-hour seminar. It was like from 10 in the morning to 10 at night or something. It was pretty crazy. And that was interesting. That was very interesting. And his solution, and I'm going to concur with this, is that the way to make the negative ETs go away is to raise the vibration of the planet to a frequency that they can't feed off of, right? So just as long as we start loving one another, getting along, you know, and that all comes from within. It's not something like me against them or, you know, race against race or nationality, whatever. It's nothing like that. It's just the oneness. If we can really just fall in love with ourselves on some level and raise our vibration, that's what it's about. And that's what's going to transform and to shift the paradigm so we do get to experience our heaven on earth and why we came here, what our destiny was, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. And I agree with that wholeheartedly because we're living it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's once you tap into that, I guess, truth, you could call it, you start to, you realize this stuff.
Exactly. And like you said, the only reason they're even able to be here is because they're at a certain frequency. And that's why, like, through mainstream media and governments and wars and everything else, they try to, like, trick us into fear and fighting and sad, all these low vibrational states. But that's only because we've forgotten that we control ourselves and our reality. And the only reason it's allowed to continue is because we think we're victims, and we think we don't have, we don't know we're powerful beings, and we think we're at the whims of whatever's happening, and we have to be afraid and everything else.
That brings up a point. Something I've been thinking about a lot is how to know if your thoughts are your own thoughts or not, because this is super prevalent right now. Even on social media, like if you're scrolling and you see a post that you agree with, and then you go to share it, even though you know it's going to trigger a bunch of people, even seeing that post, it wasn't your initial thought. Like if I wasn't scrolling, I would have never even thought about this subject. Therefore, I would have never shared it, blah, blah, blah. So if you start realizing what's your thought and what's not your thought, it changes the course of your life. Even when you're just walking along and something pops into your head, like I used to be a big drinker, and the cravings will come back. And now when they come back, I literally tell that thought to leave my head. I know it's not mine. I'm like, no, you have no place here. Please leave. And it actually works.
Yeah.
I'll notice like 5 minutes later, I've lost all urges to have a drink. And it's just a part of programming. It's some type of entity influence.
Or it's an entity. Yeah.
And
totally.
There's ways to combat it, but we need to really start paying attention to our own thoughts.
Right. I mean, so spirits are called spirits for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
It opens your aura to the spirit world, and you get a lot of people to party with in the spirit realm. So they're almost like cheerleaders cheering you on to have another drink.
Yeah.
And then some people, it's their inner demons that are coming out, where that needs to be addressed and cleared, which is something else I do. But I think psychic boundaries are so important right now. Oh my God, because it's so important to know who you are and who you're not.
Yes.
And whose thoughts are you having and whose thoughts are you not having. And I feel like, to kind of reflect back on a little bit of what you said before, was that I feel like, the light is what unites everybody. It's what brings people together. It's what brings up the vibration. It what brings in the love. But the darkness is what divides and conquers and separates and creates conflicts. Yeah. And it's conditional love, if it's love at all,
Which is not love at all, actually. Yeah.
I know.
Fine.
So, it's an interesting time we're living in.
It very much is.
That reminds me of Julia Bramer. When we had her on the podcast, she was talking about falling in love with meeting your spouse while you're out drinking, while you're at a bar. So you're essentially, your entity, your spirit, or whoever is working through you at that time is falling in love with their entity. So you're not even falling in love with each other. It's like a false, you're falling in love with the addiction or whatever it might be. It's not really truly them. Therefore, it's not truly love.
Well, it's probably falling in love with the idea of love.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
And that has happened to me in the past.
It's happened to the best of us.
I think most of us.
There's just so many things to look out for and be cautious of and be aware of. Sometimes it's overwhelming to be, have your guard up all the time. It is a true statement. Ignorance is bliss, but it's also dangerous.
It is, unless you're just so much in denial, you're a non-threat, which was what I was.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a threat at all. I didn't even know who I was for a long time, but I've learned. And I think that's the process is, getting to know yourself. People society has made it like a negative to do personal development, to get to know yourself, to cultivate self-love. Been talking about this a lot lately. It's like everything that's good for you, society has spun it into something that's negative.
Yeah.
You know? And it's mind-blowing to me that we've kind of fallen for that. But at the same time, you know, I fell for it too. Like, what can you do? We're just doing the best we can.
That's so true. We do. I mean,
but I see more and more people every day waking up to that, where they're realizing, wait a second, why am I just going along with these systems and like things I'm told to believe and to do? And people are like starting to slowly take their power back. I see more now than I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely.
For sure.
The energy coming in right now
and the
is
energy
activating people.
Yeah, totally.
Which do you have any opinion on the energies, waves that we've been, like the Schumann resonance and all that stuff? How does that affect a healing session, or how does that affect your patients or clients?
Good question. I'm a little stumped. If I feel into it, it's just seems like it's helping people more than hindering them. Don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or it might be hindering them because it's forcing them to deal with stuff that they were suppressing. But
well, that's what's happening to me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's a good thing. Yeah. Ultimately, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I feel that right now.
So, do you want to? I know you are in the process of writing a book, or you wrote a book and it's coming out. Do you want to get into that a little bit, and
Sure. I channeled a book in 2004 in about 3 days.
Nice.
And
wow.
and I've probably edited it 4 times now. And every time I set a date to say it's coming out, something happens in my life where it totally takes me out all over again. So the last thing was I got hit by a drunk driver at the end of 2015. I'm still recovering from.
I'm sorry.
I know. It took me, I mean, my healing journey is really a long, super complicated story, but the gist of it was I was pretty sick my whole entire life. And then when I was 31, my third of 4 pregnancies that ended in miscarriages crippled me. And it took them over 20 plus years to diagnose me. And for 7 of those years, I was in level 10 from head to toe and in bed, and had to kind of go in a wheelchair if I was going to go anywhere.
Wow.
But I had to like walk a lot, or and the doctors told me I was permanently disabled. I had no hope for any future, and I had to learn to manage being for the rest of my life. So that's what catapulted me into healing. Like before that, I was going to school for environmental engineering. I was mad at all these people on the earth because they polluted everything with so many chemicals and so much stuff. And I was like, I'm going to clean up all the Superfund sites. And at the time, there was only one program, which was at Humboldt State. And I was 1 semester away. And I planned on going there, completing my bachelor's, and then going to law school to fight for earth justice. I now call it my divine intervention. Was God saying, "Hey, no, the planet's going to be fine, but you got to heal people." I have tons of friends that are psychic and empaths and very gifted, and all of them have been telling me like the deep state, or whatever you want to call it these days, Illuminati, has been after me for 3 lifetimes trying to stop me coming in with that book. And I can tell you, just in this lifetime, how many times it's been stopped from putting it out there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, totally.
So it's now at the point of I really want to launch the crowdfunding on Valentine's Day, knock on wood. I'm working with an image consultant and a public relations person to vet a crowdfunding firm to see if they'll take on the project. They have to kind of fall in love with your project, and then they don't charge you. They just take a percentage of it. So I was also looking into partnering with one of the local charities here on Maui to donate 10% of the crowdfunding money to them.
Nice.
And haven't decided yet which one it is, but I will be in the next week or two. I will make a full decision and meet with them before I announce it.
What are you calling this book?
The book is called The Power of Knowing, Your Guidebook to the Truth About Life. It's about kinesiology, which has been around for thousands of years. It's the science of truth. The healers have been using it. The dowsers have been using it to determine where the ley lines are, where you should drill for a well, and where the mines are, like gold mines or crystal mines or whatever. And then also the healers, it's like the chiropractors use it to decide which supplement to recommend or where to adjust you for your overall health. Also, the priests have been using it to what they call commune with the enlightened mind. It's just a phenomenal tool. It's something I've been doing for 30 years now. And I just want to teach everybody how to do it. So there's, the book goes through 13 different ways on how to muscle test. And then you can definitely influence the test. So I then teach you how to apply it to how to work out all the kinks, and then how to apply it to your everyday life. Like you could apply it to your research. You can apply it to your medical professionals. If 10's the best this doctor could be for me, where are they at on that scale? And you can build a healing team, that are 9s and 10s, so that you can actually get through what's happening. I mean, that's how I started getting well, because I was just picking out really good doctors. And it took me a long time just to be able to communicate my symptoms, because I was so symptomatic and so traumatized by everything. So it was definitely a challenging road to be on, and I feel like I've been fighting for my life for every day since February 28th, 1995.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long road. And I feel blessed. At the same time, I felt very challenged,
Yeah.
But I feel like everything is a blessing in disguise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
that is very true. Doesn't seem like it at the time, but
no.
You look back.
So the book kind of goes into, all those tests, how to get really accurate with it, and how to apply it, and then how to apply it to your life, and then how to apply it to your intuition. And at the end of the book, I teach you how to get into your sacred heart and how to apply it there, so that you're asking questions and getting answers and able to validate that. Kind of builds your intuitive muscle. It builds your connection and vibration and frequency to the truth, so that, your body will start reacting too. Like, oh yeah, I know that's true. And, it kind of does that anyway. When you get goosebumps, or we call them in California goddess bumps.
Yeah, I've recently heard
when your hair stands on end, that it's true. You know it. And it, my body is just like that times a million. So I know.
I've recently heard them referred to as truth bumps.
Ooh, I like
that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And it's
totally
true. Yeah, it is good validation. And, just every time it happens, it's like you've just ascended just a little more,
Yeah.
Yeah, the more that we can line up with that energy, I think the more that we'll be able to ascend and heal everything, and steer the ship in a new direction.
Yes.
Well, I want to ask you. Well, actually, I'm going to let you know that when this book does come out, or when you're ready to do this, we would be glad to help promote it, or do whatever we can to help you make this thing possible, because I feel like it is essential that people start tapping into this information. So,
yeah, I mean, I think we have my my mailing list, Power News. If you subscribe to Power News on my website or down below the video, you will be in the loop for the crowdfunding. So I really want to do it on Valentine's Day because it is the Sacred Heart. I feel like it should be launched with a lot of love vibrations, and that would be the do it, right?
Perfect.
So it's about finalizing my online image. I'm kind of annoyed that I even have to do that. And then fine-tuning all the public relations around the book and vetting that crowdfunding firm. So I got a lot of work in the next 3 weeks to do.
Yeah, well, keep it up. Keep it up, definitely. So where can people, so the website is powerenergeticmaui.com, correct?
Yes, yeah.
And that's where people can go to book a session with you and find out about the book. Also, you do Facebook Lives every Sunday where you have people call in and you do healings that way. You want to tell us a little bit about all that?
Sure. We're having a lot of different events right now. One thing that I'm doing in January, so next Sunday, January, what's going to be the date? Looking up my calendar right now.
Yeah, next Sunday?
The 26th.
Yeah.
January 26th will be, I think, the last Facebook Live. I feel like I'm just getting in trouble and I'm getting censored and I'm not able to post or share into groups anymore. They're blocking me from even sharing my live when it's live to groups that are mine.
Yeah.
It blocked I just released the episode of Abundance TV and they blocked the lady that was sharing the video from sharing in groups too.
Wow.
Like, yeah. And I think I told you that. It's like I shared our video, Tyler, to my LinkedIn I think it was a couple weeks before that. I shared a Facebook Live to LinkedIn and it said security check required. So they weren't even going to let people watch it without a security check. So I just deleted the post and then I reposted it with just the link instead of the video and it went through. But still, I seem to be pissing the right people off, I guess.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But it kind of makes me a little bit stressed about it because of the crowdfunding for the book. I want to be able to share. You know what I mean? Yeah. I did meet a gentleman that started a new social media platform just like Facebook, except the algorithm includes everybody. So anytime you post anything, it goes out to every single person on your friends list.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. So I have his information. I'll link that social media. It's like, I can't remember the name of it exactly. I think it was like Florb, Florb, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, well, that's necessary, though. It's unfortunate that it has to be like that because I know when I share stuff, like if I share a picture, like update my profile picture, like everybody will like it. If I share anything about any type of truth, I'll be lucky if I get one like.
You get one or two.
If anything, it's crickets.
If that, yeah.
I'm having the same problem. I'm having the same problem since like last July. I also have had my website hacked a bunch of times since last July.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, like I'll go on there and I'll click on a link and it takes me to the back office so I could edit the website.
Wow.
So instead of taking my clients to what they think they're clicking on, it takes them to my back office.
What?
Wow.
That's crazy.
It was totally crazy. And it happened over Thanksgiving and it happened over Christmas. And like last Christmas, it was my first year in business. I did all this business. And this year I did not do one penny.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think that was an intentional attack.
Yeah.
For sure.
I feel and I almost like I felt like giving up because I'm like, here I am putting out all this great content. I'm speaking the truth. I'm fulfilling my destiny. I'm doing my purpose.
Yeah.
But yet I'm not getting the support that I should be getting. This is weird because I did it in San Diego. I had like 50 people at my first event. It was
nice.
Yeah.
Whatever. But now I just decided to do it online, and instead of getting a positive response like I did in San Diego, I'm getting all this backlash on banning me from posting to groups, banning me from commenting on my own videos. Oh my
Jeez.
God,
Yeah.
this is intense. This is really intense. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
It is.
So now, instead of giving up, I feel like, oh my God, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing something right because I'm pissing off the right people because
Exactly.
I've got something valid and something solid, and it works. And they don't like that because, you know, maybe like Grasshopper he felt like he never had, he's Chinese, so he just didn't feel like he had enough of an appeal, like a Hollywood appeal, to reach the masses, you know. But his techniques they're not like mine because he's not channeling the Sacred Heart, but his protocols are top notch, and his technique is really good. And you know, it got me out of pain. It got me out of that level 10 pain that I'd been in forever. It's really been just a phenomenal journey. That I have friends that call me the Forrest Gump of alternative medicine because I laid in bed and all these great healers came to my door. I didn't try to do anything. I was just praying, please God help me, please God help me.
You attracted them to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Not by chance either.
No.
Yeah. So I want to flip the script a little bit here.
Uh-oh.
Well, you're talking about the censorship and everything. Like, that's just a fractal of what we're seeing happening right now in the world, with all this corruption being exposed, the pedophilia and the sex trafficking and all this stuff. And I just like to hear your opinion and your thoughts on that because, you know, you're tapped in, you know, like most people aren't. So you might have a different view or perspective on what you see happening in the world.
Well, yeah, that's a big one. I mean, it's a big one. I don't even know where to start with it.
It's a big topic.
I know.
Yeah.
I definitely watched a few videos about Epstein, and I do know there's a bunch of sealed indictments behind it.
Yep.
I've heard a lot of different opinions of things from different clients, you know, about what's going on with all of that. I was raised far to the left, so my family was kind of far to the left, and so when I first started hearing this stuff, I really didn't. I don't know. It's kind of far fetched, right? Seems way out there. But the more I listened, and the more I listened to my clients because they paid me to talk, right, and tell their stuff. You know, I know a lot of people that these types of things happen to. You know, a lot of my clients had abuse as children and suffered at the hands of a pedophile. And it's not so much the elite. And you think about like how much is reported and how much is never reported. Think about that. You know, because people just feel very ashamed of not only that it happened to them, but that it was their family, or they feel separate. It makes them feel separate because they don't feel good about themselves. So it's really a healing crisis we're having when it comes to our sexuality and our own health and well-being. And as far as the elite, I mean, from what I understand, and this is just, I haven't gone and tested it, I should say. I haven't muscle tested it. But from what I understand, just the whole Q thing, just about the spin on what Trump's doing. I can't say I'm a Trump supporter, but I know that like Abraham Hicks, they were saying to support Trump while he was running, you know, and they were saying that he basically was an angel in disguise, obviously.
I've heard that as well, actually. And I didn't even know Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks was saying that.
Yeah. And so him being an angel, like if I test, is that true? I get yes. And I'm getting truth bumps all over my body when I'm saying it.
Really?
So, yeah. And it's like, God, I know just from what some of my clients were saying about the climate change and why he didn't sign the climate change was because he didn't want to fund the chemtrails. and the GMO of the weather.
Yeah. Well, the climate change, it's not, and you know, a lot of environmental things, it's like, yeah, we need to take care of the environment and stop the bad stuff. But a lot of it gets used by these globalists, you know, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, as like an excuse, because they're always like, you know, what kind of problems can we either create and use or use that are already problems to, as an excuse to further their agenda, like, you know, to put all these laws and regulations and, you know, oh, we need a one world government because the planet's going to get destroyed if we don't. And then they take over and then, you know, it goes downhill from there. So it's not, you know, and you try to tell people stuff like this, and it's like, if you don't know what's really going on, you're just never going to get it, because
you're not going to be open to hearing it.
Stuff goes so much deeper than most people realize. Yeah. And they think you're just a right wing crazy person or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I get called that, but I'm like, I'm not right or left. I'm not on the spectrum, in my opinion. At all.
Yeah. I'm just saying I was raised to the left. The other thing is just like, so if that were true, I can say I watch the skies every day. And when I first got here, there were lots of chemtrails every day. And now I rarely see them. So if he's actually responsible for that, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
You know,
I see whales as well here.
And the other thing that was shared with me confidentially really is that even the wall in Mexico, it wasn't about keeping immigrants out. It wasn't about separating parents and children. It was about keeping pedophiles out from being able to make money on children. And it was about keeping the drugs from crossing the border. It was all about defunding the deep state.
Yes.
So,
thank you. Yes.
Exactly. That's it. Because the deep state are the clients for this, for the children, for the drugs. It's sad. It's terrible to say, but you know, there's a reason this is a problem, because the clients exist in the United States, and you have to stop that.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think what was there, like 100 or 150,000 sealed indictments behind Epstein?
It's like, close to 150,000 now, I believe.
Yeah. That is insane. And you know, why isn't that headline news? Why isn't
should be?
Yeah. Well, because they own the media.
Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, it's obvious.
The silence is deafening. On that and many other things.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, this is a strange world we're living in. It's a strange paradigm that we're shifting through right now, because it's hard to know what's real and what's not, and who's what and what's where, and where do you stand, party lines. I don't know. I mean, it's feels like the wild, wild west in a sense. Like,
yeah, it really does. It really does.
So, I don't know. I just pray to God that Trump is an angel and that he's here to save us. I know that, you know, I've studied a lot of narcissistic abuse. When narcissists or sociopaths or psychopaths are running a smear campaign on you and gaslighting you, it looks a lot like what President Trump is having to go through.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, you know, I can't say like, hey, I like this guy or I don't like this guy, but if he's really doing good for us, for the big picture, if he's putting the power back to the people, then I'm fully in, you know, fully support that whole agenda.
Yeah.
I don't like where things have gone, especially since 9/11. I think, you know, my family was really political, and I know at 9/11, that day, what was it? The hanging Chad was before that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Bushes are 100% deep state.
Yeah.
So it's not a left or right thing, like we said.
No, it's not. It's definitely
both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like when Bush stole the election from Gore, I was like, this is not real. And it was obvious. Like, this is not real anymore. My vote doesn't count. I could vote all day long and it's not going to count. And what did they had some 14-year-old girl hack into the voters registration and change in like 5 seconds or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's not really real anymore. And they're still kind of telling us we live in a free country, but it's not been free for a while.
No,
and then when 9/11 happened, I literally stopped watching the news that day.
Really?
I saw the tower fall once and I was done. I was like, they are so full of shit. I just could not believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no way would that happen, because if anybody was in our airspace, they would have taken them down without permission. Like just that. So I just stopped believing everything they were telling us. And I turned off my TV. I think I was watching like a movie that day on cable or something. And I flipped over and saw it. I was like, oh my God, and flipped back. I was like, that's it. That's all she wrote. I don't need to hear anymore.
I was only 14 at the time and a long ways from being awake. So I thought it was completely real until many years later. And I actually did research, and there was about 1 million things that didn't add up and were very obviously a controlled demolition. It felt free fall speed.
I gotta say,
there's so many things.
I gotta say something. So I was in 9th grade when this happened, and we were in the library. They told us 9/11 happened, and I didn't even know.
Yeah, we were both in 9th grade.
Yeah, I didn't even know the importance of it. And here was it was so far removed from my reality. I was just like, does that mean we get to leave school early? Like,
does that what?
I was like, does that mean we get to leave school early?
Like, what, do we get to leave?
Yeah.
Do we get the day off? That's all you cared about.
Like, I didn't know. Like, I just, okay. And I believed, they hear us. Okay.
Everyone was saying World War III was starting. I remember that day at school. Like, New York's exploding. World War III is starting. The terrorists are attacking us. So,
I think World War III is conscious.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's all the mind.
It's been happening for at least 5 years.
And we're all fighting. We're all warriors, light warriors.
The other thing that I can say about Las Vegas, when we were living there in 92 and 93, and my boyfriend was, he was always paying attention to all that stuff back then when I wasn't. And the one thing that I remember the most was the potential to wake up in Vegas was so extremely high because there was no value for money, time, and something else. Because one minute you could be a millionaire and the next minute you could be homeless. And there was just, so what they did was they installed all these antennas all over Vegas to put out a low frequency to keep people in a constant state of confusion.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Even back then.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
To keep them asleep.
It makes sense.
So I feel like, in a sense, that's what the cell phone towers are these days.
Oh yeah.
I agree with
that. It's just scrambling our whole biocomputer.
And you got the Wi-Fi now on top of that, and it's
the 5G rollout.
Yeah.
That's all. And who knows, like
5G. Yeah.
Like you said, if they were doing that back then, that still might be taking place in every city aside from the cell phone towers.
Oh yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah.
In the streetlights, which we know for a fact is happening. Streetlights have government or military technology in them that are sending out frequencies. Probably.
Yeah, I know. Every time I go into the city in St. Louis, I can totally feel like vibrations.
Yeah,
and it's just like whoa.
It's funny you say streetlights because when we would drive together in a car in Vegas, we literally were blowing up the streetlights. It's like our vibe was so high.
Really?
Wow. It would just explode, and we were like, "Whoa!"
That's amazing.
That is.
I went through a whole phase where I was blowing up everything electrical around me. Finally, somebody shifted me out of it so that if my vibe changes, that my electronics change in the same frequency with me. They stay with me. Otherwise, you can blow everything up. It's really
that'd be a problem.
I blew up my car when I woke up.
What?
Yeah, my whole entire car.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because I had gone up to see the dead, and I spent like a week up there. I had all these magical, mystical experiences, and then I was driving back down, and I realized that the whole vibration of the car had changed because the tires were new and and the rims were new, and they weren't totally aligned, so it was a little funky because I got a $35 fix.
Yeah.
And there at the time there was no radio from that you could really listen to from San Francisco to San Diego. It was like a lot of open space and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of quiet time in the new meditation chamber. And I was asking a lot of questions. I was like, wow, because it really freaked me out. I was like, who could I talk to about this? Waking up stuff. It was just a really fascinating time. And so this is even weirder. So as I'm going through Camp Pendleton, all of a sudden my car just completely, the lights all go off and the whole thing powers down. And I had to pull over to the side of the road and spend the night there. And of course I woke up to some like general or some military guy saying, what are you doing here? And I said, my car broke down last night. I couldn't, it was before cell phones, everything.
Yeah.
So I just like stuck there.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he managed to get it jump started, and then I drove it to San Diego, and it never drove again.
That is crazy.
I know, it was so crazy. So I was like, that was an expensive lesson.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, it's kind of validating in a way too.
Yeah,
though.
it's validating at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
this stuff is real, and I do.
Yeah. It was quite a amazing time. I mean, yeah, I feel like all these things we've been talking about and all the censorship that I've been experiencing this last week around power energetics, and I just feel like I'm just a simple girl that needed to figure out how to heal because my life depended on it, and because of my prayer, and because I was really genuine with my prayer, that my prayers came true. And like I said, all these masters came to me, and I really started waking up and developing my intuition and my psychic abilities on the dead lot. I was having a lot of prophetic dreams and psychic hits on like what to do and what not to do, and everything that I was saying would later, like the next day come true. So I was going through somewhat of an awakening, and I was following my bliss. I was, all I can say is Jerry Garcia is probably the best shaman I've ever studied with, because he would work the whole entire crowd. You could go to 5 shows in a row and party, and wake up on the morning of the 5th show the next day and feel better than you did 5 days ago when you got there. So it was so healing on so many different levels. And, it was very peaceful. People loved each other unconditionally. There was no judgments. There was just everybody was your best friend, and they were all trying to help you, and everybody believed in miracles, and everybody was so grateful that once you walked into this like gratitude matrix, whatever you thought of just came to you like that,
Yeah, well, you're all creating that field. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Maui's a lot like that because everyone's grateful to be here. And so things that you think of can come to you, it's very similar to the Grateful Dead lot when Jerry was alive. I know that I was a spinner on the dead lot. So that meant in my community that I danced like the whirling dervish or a Sufi dancer, where I was just spinning in circles for like 4 hours straight.
Nice.
But all these magical things would happen. It was like, things in my life that weren't quite right would come up into my field, and I would look at it and I would question it. How could I heal that? But I didn't think of it in those terms at that time, but how could I make that right? And eventually an answer would come to me, and then it would fly off of me while I was spinning. So I was healing myself before I even really knew what that was. It was just really super magical. I can't even begin to explain it. I miss that more than anything, dancing and spinning. On the very last tour in 1995, I was on the East Coast from California. We probably were on tour for 2 months straight, going to shows. And I know that I met this girl, Peggy, in Giant Stadium in New Jersey. And she, when she was spinning, was moving the energy. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I want to do that. I want to do that. Teach me how to do that. So she did. And then I was like, oh my God. Then it was like, took it to a whole new level. I lived in San Diego for 15 years in Ocean Beach, and it's a small, very liberal pocket of San Diego.
Heard of Ocean.
And, yeah. And there was there still is a bar there called Winston's, and they would have Grateful Dead night every Monday night, probably for the last 30 years they've done it. And I'd go up there and I'd dance, and I'd call in all the angels, and I would, ask them to like knock on the hearts of everyone and to wake them up, and to like, I could change the whole energy of the room while I was dancing. And it was so much fun. Like, and that's really part of how I was waking up, was following this bliss and doing these dances and calling in the angels and really working the energy. I don't even know how to explain it. After Peggy, I was just like, this is for me. And the only thing that I've ever really found that comes close to that is Tai Chi. But I jumped into a Tai Chi class one time in Balboa Park, and it was a master class, and I stayed completely in sync with everybody.
Wow.
And they couldn't believe that it was the first time I had ever done it. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
They're like, you were a master in other lifetimes. There's no way you could have just jumped in like that. I was like, well, I just knew I needed to do it. And so that's the only thing, because you're in sync with everybody on an energetic level. And it's just super empowering and super divine. I don't know.
Qigong, which is very similar to that. And I felt it 100%. It was amazing.
Well,
trying to do that.
Grasshoppers work, the healing work but got rid of my level 10 pain. It's rooted in Qigong and kinesiology.
Yeah.
It's just without the exercises and without just the energetics of Qigong.
Yeah.
The healing frequencies and the vibes and the philosophies around it are similar.
Yeah, it's definitely something I need to start tapping into, is some of these any type of, heck, even if I started with yoga. I need to do something,
Yoga's great too.
I feel like I could be doing a lot more than I am.
Coffee and doing yoga is like the pathway to inner peace.
Oh man, I'm addicted to coffee. That's a tough one for me. It's going to be a hard one. I can see a lot.
Once I'm drinking coffee, I know it's time for a cleanse, because I can't even wake up without it. That just means I'm overloaded and I need to cleanse. That's my new thermostat for where I'm at as far as frequency goes these days.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm fully drinking coffee.
All right, well, Elizabeth, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this. We got into a lot of interesting stuff. It's going to be great.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to just say, I think the only thing we really didn't get into was the events that are coming up. We talked about the book a little bit. The Facebook Live on Sunday, the 26th at 10 a.m. Hawaiian Standard Time. I'm also doing like a healing circle on Maui. So if you're a healer and you want to come out and do ritual on the new moon or the full moon, we're cultivating community, heartfelt community through prayer and ritual and consistency, trust. And then I have a certification program coming up in the fall. So if you want to learn how to do power energetics, I could teach a 2-year-old how to do it, but it's a 2-year, 500-hour program, and it has 1 year of support after you graduate, a monthly call, a business plan, and a listing on our website, among other things. It's like a fully rounded program, so you get really good at healing yourself, healing others, and doing Facebook Lives, because we're going to do a private group where each student's going to do their own Facebook Live every week. So we're just kind of doing it so that it's like a online study group, and to see how everybody in the class is looking at the work, how they're interpreting it, how they're practicing it. That way it gives us a chance to fine tune it and to really add to it and to dial it in. And then I also do retreats on Maui. So if you're coming to Maui and you want to do a custom retreat, you want to learn how to do power energetics or kinesiology, or you want to go on a whale watch, or you want to sit on the beach and snorkel or swim with the dolphins, or
Sounds amazing.
You got to
I mean, we have all kinds of combinations of what you can do. And we're doing private groups and corporate groups. I think that's it. And I just want to appeal to you guys out there, please sign up for my mailing list so that you are notified when the book crowdfunding campaign is launched, because I really need your support. Please spread the word. The truth is so important to get out there, and it's really important that people start thinking for themselves, feeling for themselves, and navigating this crazy world we're living in. It's just, I don't know. I want to, it's my mission. I'm here to awaken and heal you guys. So
nice.
It sounds really weird to say that, but I'm on a mission from God. I swear.
Blues Brothers.
And I know I'm looking to gain some support and some visibility, because I've really everybody I've talked to that's read me and what's going on with me and power energetics is really, the deep state hasn't wanted this book or my work out in the world, and has known about me for the last 3 lifetimes and has been targeting me for 3 lifetimes, not just this.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, I feel very, I'm just reaching out to the community and asking for support and for help and for some visibility. And if you can share this video, we would greatly appreciate it. Please tag anybody you know that's in pain. Make sure you subscribe and Power Energetics. I'm all over social media, and I'm really grateful to Tyler and to Aaron for having me on the show. We cleared Tyler's back pain, and you were going to kind of say, we were going to drop into that, give some feedback. And
yeah, we'll do it quickly before we wrap up here. I called in, for everybody who doesn't know, I called in last Sunday to her live, and she did a healing on my lower back, which I've had lower back pain my entire life. And since then, I was, in a nutshell here, I had for so long developed new ways of doing things. Even literally, like, to bend over and lift up the toilet seat, I would have to kind of go sideways. And I realized I don't have to do that ever since Sunday.
So we'll end it on clearing your back pain again and taking off this next layer and allow the audience to see how quick it works. The first thing that comes up is physical. It's your bones. So we're going to strengthen your rib cage, your spine, your rotator cuffs, your cranial sacral bones and your facial bones, your muscles, your fascia, your interstitium, and the cells of your interstitium. And now with that, how's your back feel?
It's hard to tell just sitting here.
You can move around if you want.
Go for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know there's certain ways I can move to trigger the pain, and it just, this is what happened on Sunday. I got up and I felt like I had better legs.
Nice. Oh. And are you still at a 7 or 8?
Right now, I don't even feel it. Maybe.
I think it's like a 9.
Yeah.
Let's get you up to a 10. 1, 2, 1, 2. So it's emotional to mental. It's like you're overthinking, overguarding, overprotecting, and almost like replaying the past. So we're going to clear that. So you're in a cycle or a time loop or a pattern around it. So we're going to break those and recycle that. And now how's that feel?
You're going to make me get up again.
Sorry.
It's okay. Actually, the best way is just to twist my torso here. Yeah, that feels better. Oh, it just popped.
I heard that.
Nice. That's what happens too, is there's like a lot of unforced pops. And it just kind of, it sounds strange, but I can do chiropractic over the phone.
Yeah. Well, he just heard it.
I heard it. Yeah.
Well, you look a lot lighter and brighter all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank
yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah. I think you're at a 9.5, so you're almost at a 10. It's still mental.
I think
It's about overprotecting. Feels like you're a little bit on guard around what's happening and how things are playing out right now. So we're going to clear all that, plus 20 other things. And now, how does that feel?
Oh man, yeah, that's a tough question to ask on the spot.
Well, yeah, but I'm just clearing your weaknesses around what I said. Doesn't mean you have it or don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I feel great. It feels great right now to be.
Can't find it.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to strengthen you and integrate that. See how that goes. So that's how quick it is. He's had that pain his whole life. We cleared it on Sunday, and he had a little residual layers left. So we cleared that up and cleaned it up. And, you can just, if you have one issue, you can just call in and get a tune-up, and we can address that one issue. It's very, it's really fun. Like, who has fun healing?
Sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to revolutionize medicine.
Amazing. Thank,
This is real medicine right
yeah,
here.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I'm glad I found a nice, quiet place to do it. I hope the video turns out well. And I look forward to connecting on Thursday when it comes out. I'll make sure to share it and watch it. I'm curious.
It'll be premiering live, so you can get on the live chat on YouTube
If you want.
and
Yes.
chat with everybody who's listening. So with that, we'll go ahead and end it. Thank you so much for the healing. Thanks for coming on and doing this. All of your information is going to be in the video description below. So everybody head over to their website, hit her up, get a healing. It works. It really does. It's truly amazing. And it's a new wave of healing, I guess you could say.
It's the new wave of healing. I like that.
So,
Thank you so much for having me on. Much love and aloha from Maui. And I look forward to Thursday.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Good night.
Aloha, you guys.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.